Got a text message I want to read real fast before we get to Turron. All this Nick Foles talk is hot air. The guy's a backup for a reason. He has major weakness that will be exposed. He's a statue back there. If you get him on the move, he's terrible. Defenses are going to stack the box and pressure him out of the pocket. You're not winning a Super Bowl with Nick Foles. Pretty harsh there, Turron, huh?
Yeah, that is pretty harsh. Who sent you that one?
The people that are either A, happy that the Eagles, we get the non-Eagle fans contingents, or the people who are jumping off one of the bridges in the area.
Yeah, well, I mean, it's definitely tough to win without Carson Wentz. There's no getting around that. You just have to make some adjustments as a team. Each of them have to figure out a way to raise their game, and there's different things that they could do. It's going to change a bit as far as on-schedule throws. I actually talked to Coach Peterson about that today in the presser, and he just discussed how it's going to come down to a little more throwing to spots and those type of things. So that's what you're going to see.
Yeah, I mean, look, this is a guy who's played a lot in this league. He's 8-1 in those games that he started here at Lincoln Financial Field, 14-4 over that 8-game stretch. What are some of the things that maybe he does that Wentz doesn't do?
Well, I think exactly what I just said, making throws on schedule. And what I mean is making throws on schedule. If you look at that Aguilar catch on 3rd and 8, that's a really good example of making a throw on schedule. Foles drops back. As soon as he, is at the top of his drop, he looks, you see him pat the ball and deliver it to a spot. And Aguilar does a really good job of running the route, leaning into Nickell Robley-Coleman, the defensive back in the slot, and breaking outside and diving and catching the ball. The accuracy is there. You also see the play development because Torrey Smith has a route on the outside to keep the corner that's covering him away, and that gives them space. So that play right there is a perfect example of how you could see things start to work. And I think having Ertz back is also going to be good because, see, we have Foles and his familiarity with this offense. The guy has played in it for a while, so he understands, where the ball needs to go. Foles actually did a good job looking off Mark Barron as well because Mark Barron, was almost there in the passing lane, and he could have knocked the ball down if Foles would have, telegraphed where he was going. So you see those type of things. I'm not saying Wentz can't do that because Wentz did that a lot, but you're going to see more on-target, on-schedule throws to spots, and that's where having Zach Ertz running those wide sticks and shallow crosses is going to give the playmakers opportunity to get the ball in their hands quickly and make a play with it. I think that's what's going to be different.
What about the deep ball? Something that Wentz isn't great at. I mean, that's not his forte or strong suit. It's something that Foles excelled in. He did have Deshaun Jackson, who's one of the elite, guys that going down the field. But is that something maybe the Eagles can utilize more with Nick Foles?
Well, yeah, I mean, two things. I tell you what, saying that Wentz wasn't great at the deep pass was something that we could definitely say heading into this year. I'm not going to say he's great, but he's pretty good at it. You see him make some throws, and you're like, wow, because they're like dropping a bucket type of throw. So Carson was able to do it, but the thing is, if you go back to the Broncos game, and late in the game, Nelson Aguilar caught, I think it was like a 40-plus yarder against Chris Harris, one of the best corners in the game, right? Nick Foles delivered a beautiful pass right over the shoulder into his hands, and Aguilar had no choice but to catch it. And that was a big-time completion late in the game. So I say that to say Foles, even without Deshaun Jackson, could still deliver the ball down the field. He has a big arm. He has the accuracy, the timing with it. So I think it is something they could take advantage of. I just don't know that I would really get too much into longer developing routes because of this offensive line, right? You have Vaitai still settling into his place, and you got Olivier Vernon and JPP, two really good pass rushers, on the bookends there. And then you also have that interior pressure. When you look at a guy like Dalvin Tomlinson, when you look at James Snacks Harrison, these guys could get after the quarterback too. So you want to make sure that you don't get into a situation where Nate Sudfeld, hey, he's a pro quarterback, and I'm all for that, but you don't really want to get into a situation where he's under center.
Yeah, Turron Davenport, USA Today, Eagles Wire. And, do you think you see a much more rhythmic type of offense, more so than the improvising that you get from Wentz, that there is going to be a lot more 1, 2, 3, boom, 1, 2, 3, boom, a lot more timing because of this, and then a much more reliant team on the run game?
Well, yeah, I mean, that's precisely what I'm saying when I say on schedule.
Right,
you
right.
know, it is that rhythmic, that efficient passing game. I talked to Trey Thomas about this because he and I, we have a podcast together now with Barrett Brooks as well. And we talked about this yesterday, and he said expect to see more of what Eli Manning typically did, whereas you see him drop back 3-step throw, 5-step throw, rarely a 7-step and letting it go that way. So I definitely think that's going to happen. I see a more effective runner out of the 3 in Jay Ajayi. He's a guy, he hits these holes pretty well. He's hard to tackle. He gets yards after contact. And like I said, he hits the holes. He's doing a better job of that than Blunt, at least looking at the last game. Blunt is still there. He's 250 pounds. He has a thirst for contact. He loves to, run people over. And that kind of stuff wears down on defenses over time. That will even help the pass rush because hammering them over and over again is going to help defeat the pass rush. Slow them down. And then Corey Clement, the sense of urgency that he runs with, man, I tell you what, I like watching that kid play. I've come full circle. He was a guy I didn't think should have made the roster, but I mean, now he's someone I look forward to watching every week, and I give him credit for just going out and proving people like myself wrong.
Yeah. No, I remember going back to training camp and saying, look, what kind of role's the guy going to have? I mean, even if he does make the team, how many touches does he even get? But he takes advantage of them. He runs low. He runs hard. I'd like to see him, get some more touches as well. Turron Davenport's with us. But really, Turron, even with Carson Wentz, the star of this team was going to have to be defense. That defense has to get better. Even if Carson Wentz is your quarterback, they weren't playing good enough to get you all the way to take you to a Super Bowl, right?
I disagree with that one. I would say, okay, the last couple games.
Just the last couple games I'm talking about.
Yeah, the last couple games, I could agree to that. I mean, you had some guys getting caught out of their gaps. You had, just Todd Gurley making awesome runs. Jared Goff made some really good throws. You had some tackling issues against Seattle. You had communication issues where the rub routes weren't, they weren't switching off on those. So, yeah, the defense can play better. I think it's a matter of really clamping down. And, sometimes really good things come out of something really bad. And I think you're going to see this defense kind of come together. And talking to Malcolm Jenkins after the Rams game, he just talked about the importance of the defense making plays. I talked to Chris Long after the Rams game, and he pointed to how, they were able to come up with some big plays late in the game. The sack strip, I mean, that was the ball game right there. Being able to give an offense that was struggling the ball in field goal position was huge. And then coming back the next play, forcing a 3-and-out, and then you have BG score some points for him too. So I think the defense is a championship caliber defense. You can't run the football against them unless you have one of the best backs in football like Todd Gurley. So I think that's going to be a good thing for them, and it's going to step up and increase even more down the stretch. And I mean, listen, people say, hey, the Vikings could go to the Super Bowl with Case Keenum. Well, I'm going to counter and say, okay, if you're going to say that, the Eagles with a defense that, in my book, is just as good and a better running game and an equal quarterback can do the same.
Hey, Turron, I agree with that statement that Minnesota's going to try to get there based on their defense and hoping that their journeyman quarterback doesn't make mistakes. But that's why, to me, these next 3 games are very important. You got to get home field with Nick Foles.
Oh, yeah, you have to. So it starts, right, with what can you control, right? All you can control is going out and winning the game. So if they win out, hey, they're in good shape. I think they should beat the Giants. I think they should beat the Raiders, and we'll see what happens with the Cowboys. I think they should end up, if it's a situation where they have to win that game, I think they could win that game. But you have to also make sure that you don't slip up. Let's say they lose that Cowboys game and the Vikings went out. then it's a different ball game because the Vikings have the tiebreakers. But really, this week, Eagles fans, what they need to hope for is a Vikings loss to the Bengals. That's where it starts.
Well, a Vikings loss to the Bengals and an Eagles win, you clinch home field.
Exactly, and that's why I'm saying that.
Turron Davenport, USA Today, Eagles Wire, at @Davenport_NFL. Read his piece on Nick Foles. Really good piece there. And we'll be, of course, talking to Turron throughout the playoffs and the rest of the regular season. Thanks, pal.
You got it. Thanks for having me.